So the next step is going to be to break down the boxes again and again, but only in the areas that have a lot of detail. So you'll see yourself doing this more in the boxes that have a lot of detail, like the eyes, the nose, the mouth, important landmarks like where a dark shadow is. When you break down the boxes again and again, you're not going to want to do every single box, because then you end up with a million tiny boxes, and then it's easy to get lost. So I can show you here. This is an example of breaking down the box where the eye is. And I alternate solid and dotted lines and utilize halfway points. Utilize just means use. So what I want you to do is take your Sharpie, and I want you to mark halfway points. Every box has a set of halfway points. You just practice, just kind of eyeball it. Some of you may not get it exactly in the halfway point, but this is an important trick for this process, is starting to compare the halfway points. Okay, so you also have these halfway points in this little box. Okay, now switch back to your pencil. This trick is choosing an area that's got a lot of detail, and we're going to start in this bottom left box. If you're at home, just pause the video as much as you need to. You ready? Okay, so we're going to work in the bottom left box. And if we were in math class, this would be a quadrant, okay? The first time we break down this box, we're going to use a dotted line, okay? So go in this bottom left quadrant, and you're going to break it down with a dotted line. And whatever you do on your photograph, okay, this represents our photograph, you're going to do on the empty grid, the drawing paper. An important part of the trick is to alternate between dotted and solid lines. Now we have 4 more quadrants in this bottom left box. So in the top tiny quadrant, top right tiny quadrant with your pencil, you're using something different than the edges you're trying to reproduce, okay? Make another division. So divide that box in half both ways, because now we have another set of halfway points. And this time you're going to use a solid line. Now, when we're doing self-portraits, in order to get a very accurate likeness of yourself, it's super important to get the eyes in the right spot. So we're going to do this again for this left one right here. So your grid should be broken down like this. Now, imagining halfway points without drawing them, can you see where this is actually called the caruncle. And right here, it's like a C shape. It sits right halfway between here and here. Do y'all see that? So over here, find that spot on your grid, and you're going to make the little C shape. Now we're slowly going to trace these red lines, or whatever color you used. See where it goes across the line. You're always comparing halfway points. So you're going to determine where this edge of the eye comes across here based on this imaginary halfway point. So if I'm going to put this line across here, doesn't it cross that dotted line about halfway between there and there? I think it does. Okay. Check your angle. See where this goes across. Where does this red line cross here? Does it cross right where this line meets that line? Okay, that one goes up at an angle. Goes right through that intersection of this line and this line. Goes slightly above into that box. Okay, now stop there, because I want you to go back to this box. Okay, eyes on the screen. Go back to this box and finish everything in this box before you go to this box. Okay, so y'all work on that. This shape right here kind of curves up and goes back down. So it curves up here. It goes back down right about through here. Okay, not quite halfway. Right about there. The edge of the iris. Okay, that's this line right here. Where does it fall? Is it on my little solid line? Yes or no? Yeah. Yes, it is. So now I know the iris is right here. Okay, let's see where the pupil is. Most of the pupil is in what box? Okay, yeah, most of the pupil is in here, but does it go into this box a little bit? This, okay, another thing you can do is color mapping. And y'all will have these colored markers at your table. if you're getting confused, grab a different color and do some color mapping. So now we can say, okay, does the pupil fall on the orange line? Right here, the right side of the pupil? Does it fall on this line? Anyone?
Barely.
Barely. Okay, so now you know where the edge of that pupil is. Is there space above the pupil between this orange line, the horizontal one? There's a little bit of space, okay? So now I know the pupil has a little space around it within this little box right here. Always comparing, okay? So what I want you to do now is continue drawing the colored lines, okay? What you're doing is you want to recreate this contour drawing. What's a contour drawing again? You're recording edges, both outside and inside. It's basically the outline drawing, okay? So you're going to record the contour edges of this eyebrow, this eye, this hairline, or whatever that is, okay? You're going to record those exactly as they are here, over here, but this is twice as large as this. So another thing a grid does is let you enlarge your drawing from a small photograph, and you can do a larger work of art and still make it be accurate. Okay, so when I follow this bottom eyelid, it goes right across the orange line, about halfway between there and there. So I'm going to bring this bottom lid right about there. And then we will be doing a detailed drawing of eyes on Friday, and you will see that there's actually a double edge here. And it's like this, I call it a shelf. Well, you'll see more of that on Friday, but. Okay. Now, everybody look at the screen. Would it be wise to just freehand this?
No.
What should I do? What did I just teach you?
But square peg.
Okay, let's break it down again. In the important areas with lots of detail, break it down again, okay? In areas of hair, it's a little easier just to eyeball where it is in a box, but always continue to break it down. So let's alternate dotted lines. Let's do this bottom right box. Alternate dotted with solid. This is why we are going to do this on a large piece of scratch paper, because can you see now how many like notes and marks and color mapping and all sorts of stuff that you're going to have? It's going to let you create an accurate drawing, and then we'll transfer it before we start shading. Okay, so I want you to do this by yourself. I'm going to do it in the video. You can watch me up here, but go ahead and follow through. Compare where these lines are going in and out of your dotted and solid lines and your colored lines, okay? So try to place it accurately on the grid. This goes right up here through the corner. This goes right through that intersection here. Notice how this top lid, the eyelid, comes over past the dotted line slightly into this area. This little fold, this is a line that represents the fold in the eyelid, and it goes right through this dot. But before I go work up here, I want to make sure I finish all the details in this box. So the right side of the iris, which is the colored part of the eye, it's about halfway between the orange line and the little solid line. So that's about where the iris is. You can go ahead and fill in your pupils if that makes you feel better. Okay, you look up here for a second. Is it necessary for me to break down this box and this box and this box and this box just to get this curved line right here?
No.
Do you think I need to do all that for this line?
No.
Maybe, but check this out. Okay, if I already know it comes through this halfway point right here, and I know it comes slightly to the left of this halfway point. Well, let me just decide where it comes across the orange line. So if I imagine a halfway point here, it's going to be about right there, correct? So it doesn't quite go to the halfway point. Maybe it's halfway between the halfway point and the top of the eye. So now I can come over here and imagine where the halfway point will be and come down slightly. And now I know this line is going to come across right about there. Okay, so y'all used to do connect the dots when you were little?
Yeah.
Yep, everybody, I'm sure. It's like connect the dots, but you have to find the dots, okay? And the dots are the halfway points that you imagine or actually mark. Okay? Now, on the eyebrow, see if you can place the eyebrow. Do you think I need to break down everything with the eyebrow? Maybe. But let's see if I can just place it. This comes across right below this black halfway point. This kind of arcs down slightly below this halfway point. Maybe it doesn't come over that far. I'll probably notice that in a minute when I do this line. Okay. Now, I'm not sure where the top of the eyebrow is, so maybe I could just come over here and break this down again just to see. Look up here at the screen. I want to place this line that's either the edge of a shadow or possibly hair that's falling down by the eye. So, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and break this down again, just once. You have to do it in both places. Ah, so now I see that this red line comes across the dotted line halfway between there and there. And then it curves around and up, not quite to that halfway point. Then it curves this way. See, now you can look at the bigger picture here and just kind of go in and out of the grid lines where you see them. So that's an example of an area like that where you don't necessarily have to break down every box again and again. Okay? All right, so that's it for this lesson. The next lesson will be how to prepare the grids on both your photograph and your large scratch paper.